Hey everybody, Jeremy here from Gnomebot Studios. Welcome to the Gnomebot Nook. Today's video I will be doing a flip through of Grit Fantasy RPG. This book is available on DriveThru RPG, both as a hardcover and a softcover. You can also pick up a PDF on its own as well. The book I have in front of you here is the hardcover version. And I have to say that I deliberately wrote this book to be simple to read. You will find no fluff in this book at all. It is all streamlined, to the point. It's not fluff fantasy RPG, it's grit fantasy RPG. So let's get this thing opened up, and I'm going to show you what's inside here. You got the credits page. Table of contents. There's only 2 pages of table of contents. Really streamlined, easy to understand. Yeah, simple to use. These 2 pages are just introduction, kind of give you an idea of the system itself. Get some abbreviations, how to use the book, and just some of the things you're going to need to run the game, which isn't much. You're going to find that every section has a title, like a title page. Most often there's an illustration, but there's always going to be a title page on the right-hand side to kind of denote the sections. There's 14 pages of core rules. That's it. The whole book is 138 pages, so you don't have a lot really to have to learn to run this game. It's very, very minimal in its rule set, and yet there's still enough meat there to be interesting and to play for a long time with it. Actually, not so much as far as it wasn't intended to be a long campaign game. It's more of a one-shot and short arc type of setup that this is best for. But what I mean is there's enough content in here to play this game for a long, long time. So we go into the basics, making rolls, like movement and range, and then grit, which is basically hit points. We go into aspects, which is the stats for the characters, and then focus dice, which are like kind of used for boosting rolls. I'm going to be going through and making videos on each one of these kind of sections and going into detail, so you know how those things work. But I'm just this is like an overview of what you see in the book. 2 pages of combat. That's it. That's all you need to know. There are some more rules in here, like combat potentialities. These just give you a few things that may come up in the game itself, and this is just kind of how to deal with those things, like brawling, disarming, grappling, that kind of stuff. This idea of damage, and then how armor and shields work. And then there's a complete example of a couple rounds of combat, and then just a few miscellaneous things, advice. You're going to find a lot of the sections have like a section of advice in there. I like to include that kind of stuff. Character section. It's not terribly long. You've got 12 choices of lineages, which are basically the races. 6 steps to make a character, and most all of it can be completely randomized if you like. You can roll on tables. There's a quick build option that runs through the character section that you can follow to make it really, really fast. So each lineage is going to have a single ability. Most of them are not more than 2 sentences long. It's really easy to remember these things, and then they just have a description. There's a kind of narrative tags that are listed, 4 of them. They don't have a mechanical kind of rule set attached to them. It's just really for your information on how, kind of what these lineages are about. So you have 12 of those. You have allocating the aspect values, which is basically just a point allocation. You can also do a quick build option where it just has a preset for all that, so you can just plop that into your character sheet really fast. There's unique items, and you get to select one unique item for your character. There's 20 of those. And then you have a choice of 4 basic items, and you have 40 items to choose from there. Both of them have a D20 table, so if you want to randomize those, you can. I've done a thorough job of making pretty much everything in this book able to be randomized in some way with a die roll. And then the kind of final steps are focus dice, grit, and kind of calculating your armor. Step 6 is name and details, and then you have the options to do like features and quirks. You can just roll on these tables and get a random feature or quirk. I'll be going through the character build specifically for on a its own video basically. So there's a little bit of advice here for character builds, a character sheet example of an example character, and then we're into the GM's guide. This is just going to give you some advice and sort of some breakdown of what you're going to be looking after, dealing with rolls, both static and opposed. There's the Mighty D4, which is a great way to just have to answer a yes or no question. Give some examples here. I use the Mighty D4 a lot in Grit, so this is a good thing to look at. Also, some ideas on combat, and also taking your turn in combat. How monsters and NPCs work as far as their stats are concerned. There's a different way. They're not the same as characters. They're a lot more simple, easy to manage for the GM. And then some advice on how to work with monsters, introduce monsters in the game. And then there's just one page of hazards and conditions. And again, it's like the combat potentialities. There are just some things in here that like acid or fire or poison or falling prone, those kinds of things. There's just really like 2 lines of text just to tell you how to deal with that. Very easy, actually. Just 1 page. And then 2 pages of optional rules. These are just some things that may come up in gameplay or when you're prepping stuff that I included just to kind of have some things to think about. There is also, I included like milestones in here, like if you wanted to run a longer game. I've got some ideas for milestones and stuff. There's like structural things where you can make things have grit, like a wall or a door could have grit as well. Grit is like hit points basically. There's also an easy mode, which is kind of nice. Got some options there, so if you want to make it easier, if you're running games for kids or players who are new, it can be a good thing to have the easy mode, or at least one of these easy mode things in play. And then we get into the story builders, which is super awesome. I'm like really excited to go through these in detail. I want to go through each one like as its own video, but these are the builders. There's 4 of them in the book, but they're just a way to generate quick structures for the GM for stories, encounters, NPCs, and custom monsters. So right here we have the story builder. There's 5 steps: plot, terrain, location, detail, and event. This one gets into the encounter builder, so this is more about selecting a random monster, kind of what their mindset is, what they're doing, and a complication related to them. It also includes page numbers for the sections of the monsters, which is kind of nice. This one is the NPC builder, so really fast. It's 7 steps, and you can have a NPC in like, less than a minute. So it's just a really simple way. These builders are great. I made them to make life easy for the GM for prepping. This is a couple tables here, just magic effects and trap effects. So if you're looking for some magic effects for things or traps, it's a D20 table, super fast. Yeah, they're fun. And then we move into monsters, which is, they've got, yeah, I'll go through the sections, but there's 3 different types basically. So anyway, first couple pages is kind of runs you through like what the descriptions are like of the monsters, what everything means. It's really simple breakdown. And then there's another thing, which is an optional tier system that I developed. So you could take any monster and basically like plug in this tier system super fast to make mooks, goons, and bosses. So like you can take an orc here and just make a mook, goon, boss, orc, and it like you could do this on the fly when you're running a game. Like all you need is one description of a monster and just like plug in this tier system and you're good to go. So super helpful. You have humanoid monsters. There's 6 of these. So what this is basically taking the lineages and making villains out of them. So there's 6 types: assassin, bandit, cultist, soldier, thief, and thug. There's all the kind of stats and descriptions and everything, and one ability for each one. It's kind of a fun way to like introduce lineages that are like the characters but are actually bad guys. They're called humanoid monsters. I put everything under the monster title basically. And then we have the common monsters. There's 20 of them, so it's a D20 table. So these are the most common monsters, or some of the most common monsters you find in most RPGs. So you got like ghosts, ghouls, all the giant stuff like giant centipedes, giant crab, giant rat, giant snake, giant spider, giant toad, goblins, ogres, orcs, that kind of stuff. All of them have been meticulously illustrated. Very proud of the work that I did with the illustrations here. So the monsters all have name, stat block, like a number of abilities or features they're called, and then just a description of what they are. Now this is just I'm going to go through this in more detail later, but this is just a suggestion. So basically, I mean, you could just use one of these if you wanted to while you're running. You don't have to do all 3, but it gives you options for all these. And zombies the last one. And then we get into grit monsters, and these are the grit specific monsters that I created. So again, a D20 table. And they operate just the same way mechanically as the other first 20 here. I mean, they have their own features, abilities, and stats, but technically, they work the same way because they're monsters. So. But these are all original for grit, and they are probably never seen anywhere else in the world of RPGs. And at the back of the monster section, you're going to find the monster builder. So again, this is a quick way to generate a custom monster. So basically, stat block, 4 narrative tags, and then you get to choose how many of these features you want to add in. If it's just like a basic monster, you might want to just go with 1, or up to 3 for standard monster. Most of the monsters in the book here have 3. The more powerful ones will have 4 or 5. So you have common features, 20 of those, and you have rare features, 20 of those. So again, I'll be going over the monster builder on its own video. And then after that is loot, which is very extensive. There's 20 D20 tables. And on this page, you're going to find like the tables to kind of randomly select them. So basically, you have gear, consumables, and artifacts. Artifacts are like the magical items that are like a little more higher powered. Gear is going to have some of the basic stuff and then some more uncommon things. So it's like a tier level. It's like basic stuff, more uncommon, which is a little bit more powerful, and then artifacts, which are more powerful. And then consumables is just like food, potions, like small, like one-shot devices and stuff like that. Random is just a D20 table that just covers, like, just comprises all these together in one. So if you want to just randomize one item out of all the stuff, you can do that. There's a small glossary here. And then you get into the loot tables. So these are all D20. The gear ones, you have armor and weapons and items and kits. Is it identical to what is in the character build section? So I wanted to include this in the loot section, so there is no flipping through pages. It's just all the loot's in one spot. And you have uncommon items and unusual objects. Uncommon items are a little step up, so you got a little nicer armor and weapons and stuff like that. Unusual objects are just kind of RP objects, like role-playing objects. Just interesting stuff that you could find that could have some nice narrative effects in your game. Then we go into consumables. So we have curious goods, which are just a bunch of weird, funny things, some of them quirky. Food stuff, which is a consumable item which can be consumed quickly, kind of as a, I would say, free action, bonus action kind of thing. Same with potions. So you have food, handy devices. There's like bombs and caltrops and that kind of stuff in here. Darts. You have magic potions, which is obvious. There's just all kinds of magic effects here. And then you get into artifacts. And these are gonna, you can see there's a lot more text here, but not a ton. There's only 2 lines at most for each of these. But that really encompasses, the idea that these are special items. They have more power. They're more interesting. There's just more going on there. So they're more rare, more kind of powerful for the characters to have. So armor and shields, books and scrolls, clothing and attire, crystals and runes, gadgets and gizmos, instruments and oddities, jewelry and amulets, melee weapons, ranged weapons, stabs and wands, tools and equipment, and weird and bizarre. That concludes all the loot items. Then there's a sample character sheet. There's also a character sheet, or a couple different ones, that's part of the package when you buy this book on our drive-through. And then the final page is basically just a shout out to all the characters that were involved in designing this game. So I wanted to list all of them for fun and for those folks who took part in the process of this game. So, and that is the entire book, Grit Fantasy RPG. Again, it's at Drive-Thru RPG right now. You can get this in hardcover. I've got the soft cover here as well. A little bit smaller, as you can see. The PDFs come with both of these if you get either of the books, or you can buy the PDF for free, or not for free. You can buy the PDF separate, free with the books. And that is the walkthrough. I hope that was informative. Thanks for watching. Take care and roll those dice.